Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week, I wanted to talk about the concept of cutting corners if it's appropriate. Now, obviously, a lot of the time, cutting corners is not the ideal way to go around creating a project, especially if it's a larger project that you're planning on working on, or like something that you want to be around for a very long time. However, if you are on a very tight deadline, or if you have knowledge that like this project won't stick around for a long time, then sometimes I feel that it's all right to cut corners. I should talk about what kind of prompted this. I guess it's March now, but I was shoveling yesterday and I realized it's going to be 40 degrees in like a week. And we got dumped with a couple inches of snow, and I was shoveling. I was like, I don't really have to do a good job here. It's going to be gone soon enough. So I cleaned out the driveway and I did my best to make it nice. But I also realized that there's no real point in putting a ton of effort into cleaning up the driveway, just because I know that it's not going to make that big of a difference in the long run. And I think that kind of corner cutting, as long as it's intentional, is really valuable. And the same thing could be said about when you're doing a game jam or something and you have a limited amount of time to make something, so you cut corners in the quality or the extensibility of your code. Like, you don't make the code flexible, you make it functional for the very specific goal that you have in front of you. And then that gives you the opportunity to have more time to make other things, instead of spending 6 hours making this code perfect and then you run out of time for the rest of the project. So I think that it's something that you need to keep in mind, but obviously you want to ensure that if something is supposed to be useful in the long term, you want to make sure that it is flexible and you aren't cutting corners. I don't know. I didn't really have a whole lot of ideas for this one, but it was something that I really kind of thought of while I was shoveling, because it's like, a lot of the time I do my best to make things in a particular way or up to a particular standard of quality. And I realize that that's not always necessary sometimes. Like, obviously, when I'm pushing something out to distribution, like if I'm releasing an album, I want to make sure that album is as high quality as possible, because it's really, really hard to update that album. But if I'm posting something, to a friend, or if I'm just like, sharing a project with people on Patreon, it's like the stakes are a lot lower then. Or really even posting something to Bandcamp, because Bandcamp, you can just go in and edit it. I guess that brings up kind of the counterpoint to this, where just because you can cut corners doesn't mean that you should. The example being my Naso Elmo submission from 2021, Let the World Forget Us, because I posted that to Bandcamp. And the album's not done. I'm working on it. I'm finishing it up, but like I posted it to Bandcamp and people bought it. And then I'm like, oh man, now I have this like obligation that I need to finish it. And that's like, that weighs on me, like I want to make sure that the things that I make are up to a standard of quality. And I don't feel like that album that I put out was. So, I guess there's two sides to this. And you have to kind of gauge that for yourself. That was a real eye opener for me when I posted that, and like people were paying for it, and not a lot. I think I got like 3 purchases or 4 purchases, but people bought it. And that really kind of, showed me that I need to ensure that when I post something to Bandcamp, I have to have a certain standard of quality to it. And I can't just be like, hey, this is something I'm working on, guys. Cause I've seen other artists do that. And I guess, either their standards are different, which is fine, or their engagement with their audience is different, which is, also fine. Like, they have different expectations. So something that I need to be more aware of in the future. But I think that's pretty much all I have for this one. I know it's a little bit short, but I don't know. Like, I'm I kind of figured out quite a bit while I was talking, honestly. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. I really genuinely do appreciate it. I hope that you have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.